So one thing that I love doing is going to my vintage toy stores near me, because you never know what video game items you might find, or even those like crazy Nintendo or just video game oddities. This place is called the Toy Exchange. So if you're ever in Mount Airy, Maryland, you have to check it out, because boy did I see so much cool stuff there, and every single time that I looked, even further, I saw something else that was awesome. So one cool thing that I see at the store, they really have some of like this heat. Like, look at this. This is a vintage Game & Watch. Mario's Cement Factory. Just finding any of these Game & Watch games, and especially with the boxes and like these tabletop ones, this is just so wild because these are so super sought after. And having this like beautiful condition, it looks like it was like barely ever used or mint on the inside, but just so simplistic at a time. This is just really cool to see because you really don't see it. And this says 1983 Nintendo. So this is such a cool piece of history. Maybe one day I'll have to pick something like this up and add it into the Game & Watch collection. So as I'm going for the full Super Nintendo set, I could not leave without this one. This is Mega Man Soccer, and boy, is this really not the greatest of games. But of course, Mega Man was everywhere. So many games on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Then of course, moving forward to the Super Nintendo. So why not change things up and have Mega Man playing soccer? I mean, we think about it, Mario pretty much plays every single sport. Well, this one was simply not the greatest. This is a game that does hold its value, is pretty expensive, but it's just not very exciting. I feel like it felt pretty rushed, and I just don't really think that there's so much going on other than just the Mega Man hype. So I can't really see enough as I'm playing this game, and even though you do kind of have these like special moves as you're going around, I feel like it is pretty funny that they tried to, just like have this whole like story. But overall, I would definitely not recommend paying this insane price. But if you can find this game for a great deal, which I did, I was able to like work some deals out, just get some really great pricing, definitely under price charting values. And I was able to add this Super Nintendo game. We are getting down to the wire. I think there's like under 140 or so left that I need for the entire set. So this was definitely pretty exciting to add this one into the set. Now, I'm not really too sure why I'm so excited for this game, because this one is super challenging. Now, this one is not super, but this is Ghosts and Goblins. So this one, of course, we all know that the Super Nintendo version of this game, Ghouls and Ghosts, was one that I had so much difficulty playing. And this one is really no different. I feel like this is one that is going to continue challenging me as I go through it. But I'm really excited to add this one because I'm not really too sure where my copy went or if I played it at a friend's house. So this one, just the enemy placement is so tough in this. Of course, not all weapons are great. They're not great upgrades at all. I feel like the only great one is the dagger, just because it goes super quick. Now, of course, in this action platformer, it is so difficult, and I feel like at times it is super insane. So if you are good at this game, or even Super Ghouls and Ghosts, I feel like, hats off to you, because this one is just super challenging, and I feel like I will never make it past that unless I have some sort of, cheat or just unlimited continues, because I feel like I spend so much time playing these games, and I don't know if I just get too frustrated and I can't see past any of that. But maybe one day I'll be able to beat these. And I want to know, did you enjoy this one? So I love when you check out these stores and you literally find these like treasures hidden among the rest of the items here. This is from 1989, the Super Mario Brothers 7-piece decorating kit. It says ideal for windows, walls, and doors. How cool would this have been to have on your walls back in the day? Look at that. Mario is like a Western person with a gun. That's pretty crazy. But like just seeing all of these, that is so cool. And this is such like a cool little piece of history here. And it's something that you just don't come across every single day. It's so wild. So I feel like as I'm in this toy store, I'm going back to the future. Not this terrible game right here, but I really do feel like this store has so much going on. There's just so many different things, whether you're into, you know, toy trains or different collectibles like that, or if you love certain toy lines. I feel like they have a little bit of everything. Of course, I saw my Turtles, I saw G.I. Joe, I literally saw anything and everything just hanging from the ceiling, behind the counter. So many different toys, toy lines, The Simpsons, and of course the list goes on. And this game is nothing really to brag about here, but I did score this one at the store, a pretty inexpensive game that really doesn't feel like anything to do with Back to the Future, the movie, and I feel like they definitely took advantage of that, you know, hyping up this whole like franchise, and these are just known for not being the best games, but I'm sure that someone out there enjoyed them, or at least played them back in the day, maybe was pretty disappointed, but they definitely don't top the movies. So I'd rather go back in the future when I'm going to these toy stores and just seeing all of these awesome items. Now this game is not a bad one. I've only played through a little bit. This is Codename Viper. So definitely a great game, one that's pretty fun, especially if you love those action platformers. Now this is really similar to Rolling Thunder, but I feel like they did a little bit different. They kind of like added to it. So, you know, with your 3 lives, your 3 continues, it is very story driven with this whole action. And I kind of like this whole like door mechanic that you could use to hide. You have to definitely be careful with the quick appearance of those enemies jumping out at you and just firing right away. So you do have to be very mindful of that, and you have to use that with your strategy because you don't want to take all of those shots and just, you know, lose on out just because it's coming at you pretty quick. But this is one that I'm super excited to add. I have been playing this one for quite some time, and I definitely have to devote a little bit more time to it just to kind of make a further determination of, you know, which game is kind of up there. But this one's a lot of fun so far, and I feel like as I'm going through a lot of these games here, some are pretty fun and some are just not fun at all, like some of the next ones that you'll see. This one right here is one that is really not that fun. This is Xenophobe. So you would think that based off of this whole like image on here that this would be so much fun. This authentic arcade edition, split screen action, 2-player interactive. You would think that it would be so much fun, but you know, you have a certain time to go through and kill these aliens, but it's not really, you know, something that is needed to play. So you can choose one of 3 playable characters. Of course, you could pick one of 9 on the arcade. And as you go through these different 8 stages, I feel like as you continuously go, the main objective is to get those high scores and those power-ups. But once you beat those 8 stages, it just kind of loops over and over and over again. So like a continuous loop, because like the arcades and all that arcade action, you're really just going for those high scores. So I feel like this one doesn't really look the best. It doesn't really have the best, you know, going on with this. And this is one that I'll definitely have to play in the arcade. I feel like this is one that I definitely missed out on, but I feel like it would be so much more fun to play in the arcades instead of this kind of like, you know, just diminished Nintendo copy or version of this particular game. So I love the variety of toys at this store too. So not just video games, but they have toys, they have trains, literally just so much of everything. In The Simpsons, it's like overflowing. This one even like sings. So this is just so cool, seeing like this like, you know, fur coat on here, all this money. It's just so neat. I love seeing the Simpsons stuff. It's definitely like a throwback. This right here, like a little toothbrush holder. It's just so wild seeing the crazy amount of Simpsons stuff. Just like ceramic stuff. This was from Kmart back in the day. So it's just so weird seeing all this craziness. I feel like a lot of stores just don't have so much when it comes to these toy lines. But this one is just overflowing. And they have so much jam-packed in this store. Now this one's actually a pretty fun pinball game. We have rollerball, and I like how this one feels pretty large, at least this whole like playing field. So I love how when you're going through this, you have like 4 screens, and even the 2-player action looks like a lot of fun. So I'll definitely have to find someone to play against. I like how it kind of like pits you against one another. And this one is definitely interesting. Now, this does have like a political aspect to it. So I'll kind of have to see if there's anything more specific to it, or if it's just kind of like mimicking these different like images in this particular game. But I'm definitely curious to see how the 2-player plays versus just a single player, because I feel like that one will be a lot more fun. So while I was there, I felt like they had a great inventory of items, whether it be video games, toys, or just anything else, and they actually explained that they have been around for 10 years. The Toy Exchange is having their 10-year anniversary on Saturday, March 29th. So if you are in the area, you definitely want to check out this toy store or video game store, however you look at it, because you can get 10% off your purchase, and there will be refreshments provided between 12 and 2. So this is definitely really cool. I love how the owners and everyone who works there were so nice. Danny was amazing. He definitely, kept the conversation going, was super knowledgeable, knew everything and anything about the toys, the video games, the deals, and just so much more. I really had a blast, and I love that each time that I go to this store, because there's always something crazy or something weird or some oddity or something that I learn about that I didn't even know about. Like something that was really cool that they have in one of their like little showcases behind the counter, seeing that amazing Turbo Man. And that is one that they actually have a crazy story about, how it is one that was used for the movie. So that was just so crazy, learning about the history on that. And that was one that would pretty much be used to get those like close-up shots. And that is just so cool. It's definitely not one of those cheap little toys. And it's not one of those cheap little, reproduction, like Funko Pop ones that they did a while back. So this was really cool to see, learn about so much cool stuff there, and I had a blast going there. Now, they did have some more Nintendo games, like this one right here. I had not seen this one. It's a rather inexpensive one. This is Raid on Bungling Bay. So this is one that I didn't really know what to expect based on this like whole cover here. But this is kind of like an action game, kind of strategy. Reminds me of Xevious. So pretty much you have to like bomb on top of these like factories. You have to go through, fly around as this like helicopter, one helicopter against many. So you have to destroy 6 of these like secret factories. Now it does take a lot of like time and strategy kind of getting through on this particular game, but it's one that I'm really looking forward to playing just a little bit more, just to kind of see if I can sink some time into it, maybe understand it just a little bit better. Kind of seems like you have to like hover over top of the factories to like bomb them, so it's not like a fast-paced, part of that game, so that kind of like slows you down a little bit, but it still seems like a fun one. Now, I definitely love me some puzzle games, especially cheap ones like Loops with a Z. So this one right here is definitely a lot of fun. You kind of get like these little pieces, you can rotate them, and the main goal is to go through and just continuously placing them until you make these loops. And then the goal is to kind of like not run out of space and time in this game. So you definitely want to try and go ahead and create that loop and just not have like a bunch of like little of these like pieces all over the screen where you can't really piece anymore. So you definitely don't want to lose when you do that. So it does take a little bit of time, a little bit of skill, and it's something so simple, yet a lot of fun when you get into these like puzzle games. So I definitely enjoy these when I'm just relaxing and just having a great time. Now I feel like Wheel of Fortune, based on the #1 hit TV game show, this was definitely all the rage back in the day. You know, when you would get home from school or even stay home from school, you would get to see these games, these like game shows, and you really tried to like play along. Now I feel like this one would have been a lot more fun back in the day. I'm curious to see kind of like how this has evolved and see if it really holds up today. Pretty much a simple premise. You spin the wheel, you get a certain amount, you have to either buy a vowel or, you know, you guess what these words are and they give you clues. So I feel like this is one that maybe would be fun if I played with someone else, but I feel like I probably would not enjoy it as much anymore. But I used to love these games back in the day, and I used to love watching the TV shows just because they really meant something to me back then. So this is one that I'm curious if you guys played before, or if it's one that, you know, you don't really play these TV game shows anymore. So if you are ever in the Maryland area, specifically Mount Airy, and you want to check out the toy exchange, you should definitely stop by, because not only do they have toys, you know, vintage toy lines, they have so many different video games. I scored GameCube there before. I've scored more Super Nintendo. Now this time they had Super Nintendo and Nintendo Entertainment System that I was really excited about. They had so much more too. I would have loved to pick up that game and watch, so maybe one day if it's still there. And just those crazy Nintendo oddities. Just finding like weird things like that. I absolutely love places like this where you never know what you might find. So, what did you see in the video that you would have loved to add in your collection, and have you been to a location like this? Of course, let me know in the comments down below, and thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Go ahead and check out all of my other videos and stay tuned for more.